Hello. Welcome, everyone. Today, my friends and I are going to discuss Book 10 of the Cradle series, Reaper by Will White. I'm very excited to talk about this with them, and I hope you're excited to hear some other points of views besides my own. Be warned, before the video starts, that there are spoilers through the entirety of Reaper, so if you haven't read it yet, go read it, and then come back and watch this video. Alright, I hope you guys enjoy as we drink and discuss. Alright, guys, we're back with a different drink and discuss this time. We're going to do Reaper, Book 10 of Cradle. We got Ryan here this time around. Ryan, this is your first drink and discuss with us. Many of you, if you watched some other ones, you'll recognize Marcus below me. And then, Max, you were on our Rhythm of War drink and discuss. So You've been here before. But welcome back. I'm glad to have you back. I'm glad to be talking about this book with you guys.
Oh, I love this series, so I was ecstatic to get your invite.
All right, let's start off with what I always start off with my reviews and stuff like that. We're gonna start off with the pros first. Max, why don't you start off with your biggest pro of the book?
Oh, damn. Biggest pro of the book. I liked the fact that we finally got to see the main cast slow down for a bit at the start. I think that's something that's always been missing from the series. I know Will White has specifically said that he likes to cut too slow of scenes. He thinks it causes series to kind of die down and get real boring. I think it was really important to finally get to see, hey, if they were allowed to just live, they'd still be well-adjusted, they'd still be comfortable, they'd still be very happy people.
I can agree with that. I definitely... Well, I'll get into that. That's one of my cons sometimes with this. Marcus, biggest pro?
For sure the ending. I mean, that ending just came out of... I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere, because I predicted the big, reveal, but yeah, he can write his endings so well. The last 20% of all of his books are just always insane.
I know, it's making me super fucking hopeful for the end of this series, the 12 books, because for me, like, that's the last like puzzle piece, and if that fits and works well, then this series will be like super highly rated for me. Ryan, biggest pro?
Biggest pro, I'd probably say just more the character development, especially around Zeal. I like Zeal a lot. How he's kind of a team player, but at the same time he doesn't want to be kind of jacks his feet on it.
S tier.
Zeal is such an interesting character, and like I love how at the end of the book he's like, God damn it, I just finally committed to like caring about this again, and now we're all gonna die. This is BS.
I do love Zeal, and I much prefer what Will ended up doing than his initial concept for Zeal. I don't know, have any of you ever seen what his initial concept for Zeal was?
No.
Originally, Zeal was going to be a lot less important of a character, and his the idea that Will had for him was basically Ash Ketchum if Pikachu died. He was gonna be. So you remember the Beast King, the one, I think it's Harold. Yeah, Harold from Ghostwater. Basically, he took what was going to be Zeal's original path and gave it to the Beast King, where it was a bunch of a bunch of ancestral beasts and spirits and such that he used to fight.
Interesting.
That's weird.
Yep.
I still don't know what Zeal does, to be honest with you, other than write runes.
Yeah,
I don't know what his path is.
That's his entire path. He uses force to create runes out of thin air.
Okay. I thought he was just like so broken or something on the inside that he had to abandon.
Yeah, he was like like a super young archlord, like Lyndon's age, and they shattered like his spirit, like his and that caused him to basically like not really able to pursue the sacred arcs at all anymore. Because that was from the Cult of the Weeping Dragon, right?
Yeah, the Storm Sage did it to him.
So like that was the biggest thing for him, is like he just, until Athan provided him with the Pure Storm Baptism, he wasn't able to like fully heal, and now he's like just finally getting back to normal.
Well, not normal. He's still stuck down at basically like Underlord level, but they think he can advance again,
Yeah.
which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they said he needed like one more of the cleansing or whatever.
Yeah. Which
Ethan
just-
thought he could deal with one more to really get best.
get back to fighting shape again. Well, and Lyndon could technically do it now, right? Because he has a soul forge.
I guess, but I don't think Lyndon has the same necessary knowledge
I guess that's
of
fair.
how the lightning Madra is being used.
I guess that's fair. Okay, let's start off with cons. Ryan, biggest con of the book.
Biggest con of the book, probably having to wait a whole another year and a half to really see where it leads to, because now you're just on this plateau of you have a good idea of where it's going to head to, but it could go anywhere really.
All right. Fair enough. Marcus?
I didn't like most of the Labyrinth stuff, especially after the fight with the
with Shen.
Rigon Chen.
Yeah.
After Rigon Chen fight, I got like really bored of the Labyrinth very quickly. It just started to drag a lot more, and it didn't seem as threatening anymore.
Exactly. I felt like it didn't have enough risk to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
after that fight, it was just like, well, all right. I mean, we're running out of all our stuff, but we're also still be able to fight constantly. Everyone's still healing. Like, I just like kind of like lost interest really quick.
Well, and it's one of those things that is surprising from him, because like I always feel like his fights are so like well done stake wise that we always know kind of where the stakes are at. But yeah, I agree. I think the Labyrinth, like that half of the Labyrinth was like, you could have like done the Mercy Revolution. We'll talk about that later, but I have some thoughts on how I would have fixed that. But I feel like that time could have been dedicated to other things that would have been more impactful to the reader. Max, con.
I kind of have to flip between two here.
Okay.
I think the biggest con, in my opinion, is that while this book is, I thought, very good to read the first time around, I think it lacks some of the rereadability of a few of my favorite books in the series. I think it was a lot of time spent on revealing things, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you have the reveal, it's less interesting to get that reveal again, you know?
Right.
And the other con, I mean, I think it was a little... I wish we'd seen a few more characters, honestly, at the first half. Like Fisher Gesh, I would have loved to have seen her show up again.
I was really sad we didn't get to see any of her.
Yeah.
I have another
resolution on what was going on with the Emperor's sister. Why can't I remember her name?
I know who you're talking about.
Saya.
Naruse, yep.
Yeah. I was sad that we didn't get more of an update on like how she was doing after her fight, because the last we heard of her, she was never going to be the same again, and the only reason the other kid recovered is because he's the son of a monarch.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to pick up what you're talking about now. Okay. I was kind of confused for a bit.
Yeah, because she was part of Lyndon's team in Wintersteel.
Right.
And I was like really wanted some stuff with her, which we'll talk about in the beginning section. Ryan, you had another con?
Yeah, I couldn't care less about Lyndon's family.
Oh, really?
Especially his parents.
All right. Well,
Like,
I
I like those.
They're just so far behind. Like, it's just like dragging a toddler through it. Like, just get rid of them.
Just kill him.
Just get rid of them.
Lyndon just turns around.
So you've committed your whole life to saving them, and now just kill them.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised that the mom is still alive. Like the sister and the dad, they each have their stuff. I was surprised when the mom actually was still alive at the end of Black Flame, or not Black Flame,
Bloodline.
Bloodline, yeah.
See, this will be interesting to talk about, Ryan, because I actually really, really loved those parts with his family. I wish we would have gotten more time with them in Bloodline, and a little bit more with them here, but I just felt like they were kind of like thrown into this book a little bit, where we just got like a quick scene with his dad, and I'm like, okay, we need some more from this plot line that's just cut.
Well, it's just so opposite too. Like Lyndon's always looking for more power and everything, and the dad's just like, yeah, I'm fine being blind, whatever.
Can you give me a defect or whatever he
I
said
don't
called
know.
it?
Yeah.
It seemed like he thought that like it was better to just advance, and he thought he knew better than Lyndon more
Yeah.
than him being okay with being blind. I think it really was more just distrust of Lyndon actually knowing what he was doing.
I love to hate his family, basically. I'm with you. Like, oh my god, they're on screen. I hate all of this, but I understand why it's here and it makes sense.
I like his sister.
Yeah,
Yes,
I liked
this is
Kelsa's interactions with
Well,
I had his name, but now I
Jai
can't
Long?
remember. Yeah,
Jai
Jai
Long.
Long.
Jai
I
Long.
love Kelsa and Jai Long's scenes.
Yeah,
like that.
well, and she's like the only one that's actually like accepted Lyndon for like kind of realized, oh, my brother is actually like OP as fuck right now. So, where his parents were like, no, and it wasn't like
Oh.
I don't know. I really like the scene with the dad in this book when like I really liked appreciated the early scene where like he doesn't trust Lyndon, and then like the scene where we cut away to them when Lyndon's meeting the Emperor, and his mom's like they're doing all the flashy stuff, and his mom's like, no, that's your son doing that, and he's like,
well, the Emperor can't be that impressive then.
yeah.
Like instead of like, oh my son is actually this much better, he just no, the Emperor just sucks then. Never mind.
I think the thing that annoys me most about his dad's attitude is his mom makes sense to me. Like she's slowly coming to accept it, but she's just spent how many years in prison? She had no idea what was going on. She had no idea what the power level outside was. But then you've got Jiran and Kelsa, who both, they've had Orthos with them for a year now. So they should know what's going on. And Jiran's just entirely uninterested in listening.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the beginning stuff. Well, we already talked about the interaction between Lyndon and his father. You guys didn't like it. I liked it.
I loved the scene. I just don't like his dad.
I mean, like, I don't like his dad either, but I enjoy the interaction because it's like, for me, it's as Lyndon as a character, I feel like all he's ever wanted is to be accepted by his family, and he's never going to get that. It's like that one
from his dad, at least.
It's that one thing that's like, nope, you can't. You can have all the power you want, but you can't have this one thing.
I enjoyed that he smashed the table into a million pieces.
Dude, that was so
I was about
cool.
to do it at my desk at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's felt that frustration when arguing with like a family member who's just like, oh, please just listen to me.
Yeah,
but-
that one, that part, I loved that part so much. Where he's just like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
I have emperors coming and asking me for advice, and you can't accept these eyes that a jade could make.
It's useless because it's so weak, but it helps you.
It just feels like he's talking to a wall half the time he's trying to talk to his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I mean, I think it is a well-written idea of like, his dad was always under the assumption that, he was powerful, he was capable, he could keep his family safe. And then, Dreadgod comes through, crushes the entire valley underfoot without even paying attention.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you know.
So what do you guys think about all like the perspective swapping in the beginning? I thought it was a little different than what happened before, like constantly swapping perspectives, but I actually liked seeing other people's perspective on Lyndon and other people around him. That's just like one of the biggest negatives I've seen of this book so far, is that everyone didn't like the POV swapping.
Oh, really?
I don't understand that personally.
That was like one of the big things from like 2-star to 3 stars. Was they hated the POV swapping. I think it's just because it's different. It just is kind of like he hasn't done it before, and it was more jarring, I would say. But I liked it.
I'm curious if the people who didn't like it were reading it, and the people who did like it were listening, because I don't know. I feel like the voice actors just does such a great job swapping his voices that I think it makes it easier to kind of follow the POV swap.
Yeah.
That might be part of it too.
Travis Baldry is a great narrator. Like, if I ever did write a book and had a chance to have it narrated, I'd want him to be a narrator.
For sure. He's great.
This is actually one of the points I wanted to talk about when we were talking about pros and cons. I really wanted more from this section of the book. I wish that he would have taken the Labyrinth, the second half of the Labyrinth stuff, shoved the important bits in the beginning and like before the fight with Shen. Like, Shen could have knocked everyone out of the Labyrinth except for Athan and Lyndon. We didn't need to have them leaving one at a time, and have like the Mercy revelation prior to that as well. and then put all that time committed to that in the beginning with all these character interaction moments that I was like dying to see. Because like even with like, even if we don't take like, Lyndon and his family and stuff like that, like I would have loved to see more of just the team functioning together in a time of like not crisis. Like watch like Zeal and Mercy and stuff like that actually interact with everyone a little bit more.
Yeah. I think it really is a certain, I mean, I know when Will White wrote this series, it was supposed to be his fun break from, I want to say Traveler's Gate was his like frontline series at the time. It was the flagship series.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire Cradle series was just supposed to be a fun break for him. And I think sometimes that, I know at this point he knows it's his flagship series. It's the one that he makes the most off of. It's the one that does best. But I think he still does occasionally get into that mentality of, I just want to have the fun, go going on in it.
Yeah, and I mean like I've had parts of my reviews where I've talked about this in earlier books that I had, like especially up to book 7, I had problems with like him skipping those types of moments. Like I think back to the scene where he and Mercy are at the play and it's like a beautiful moment, and then he just like cuts midway through the scene and it's like, what? No, you were like getting to some good stuff there and you just cut. And then Wintersteel I felt was like the best, where he actually finally blended in those character moments super, super well. I could have used a little bit more from the team building at the beginning with like Pride and Narasea and stuff like that, but like it was really good. And like I feel like 9 and 10 has been in line with that, but I still want like just a little bit more.
Yeah,
especially with the amount of characters we're getting now, because there are a lot of characters to keep track of.
I think this would have been the right amount of, just like downtime scenes if it was still the party from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's double the size. There's a lot more people that we want to see showing up.
Yeah, we have a lot of characters to deal with now. A lot of cool side characters that have been introduced. Okay, I want to talk about their sect a little bit. What do you guys think about the Twin Star sect?
I love Ethan's introduction of it at the very end of Bloodline. I love that I love that he created and kind of just dumped it on Lyndon's lap. It was like, hey, so I had a plan for this, but it just happened.
I thought it was kind of like nothing in this book because they didn't do too much with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of there. It's a lot of people who are just golds and can't get to the next level, just trying to assimilate together and just follow someone who's like powerful. So it didn't like, it was just like, all right, okay, I kind of makes sense, but whatever.
I really liked seeing Lyndon in those scenes where like he was like the teacher figure, and like getting to see like, especially with them coming back to Black Flame, which we'll get into a little bit, but like getting to see like Lyndon in a way that's like not just, I'm going to just keep advancing continuously forever, like taking on a new position.
I
thought that was cool.
That it was just kind of a bright light for a lot of people that were kind of stranded and they just got attacked by the Dread Gods, and it was kind of just like something that they could grasp onto and just kind of have that push them to keep living pretty much.
Well, and you can see how much that means to like, especially to like Jai Long's sister, Jai Chen. Is that her name? And then like, I mean, even I feel like with Kelsa and Jai Long, like it kind of, Jai Long maybe the least, but it kind of means something to them. Whereas like Lyndon at this point, like I think he's like starting to get that, and I feel like in the next book he'll have more of like, he'll take on a little bit more of like the Ethan type role of like the mentor figure. But it was interesting to see like how much it means to some of these characters that are not necessarily Lyndon.
I think even beyond how the members feel, I think it's a very important step for the series, because it really does. At some point they mentioned how like they've always been borrowing the authority of the Black Flame Emperor or the Akura clan or whatever, and now they're making those first steps of becoming an independent group. They are no longer defined by being part of the Akura clan. They are their own power, and I think that's going to be very important as this series goes on. I also think it's kind of like this gets into some of the questions we had planned for earlier, but I do think it's where Kelza and Jailong are going to end up. It's going to be their place at the end of the series, personally.
That's what I wanted to ask. Who you guys are predicting are going to take over the sect when the main party ascends?
His dad, 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
I mean, it's got to be. It's probably his sister, or maybe in like Zeal if he gets maybe left behind and can't fully ascend.
I'm wondering about
Mercy.
that. I'm wondering about that. I want to talk about some of the ascension theories later, but my prediction right now is that it'll be Jai Chen that will lead the sect.
I do think Jai Chen will be the leader of the sect just based off of what they're doing with it. I think Jailong and Kelza are going to be her, quote unquote, if she's the monarch, they're the heralds.
I have other thoughts about that, but
I can see them possibly ascending, but I really think they're going to stick on Cradle.
Hell, he could take the whole sect with him at this point.
Yeah, if he wanted to, he could just take the sect.
He's like, all right, everyone's coming with.
Yeah.
One more thing about the sect is I think it'll be interesting down the road when he has his own people to worry about, because that'll be kind of another weakness that he'll have when he starts to kind of face another monarch or something down the road.
He's not North Stridering it.
Yeah. It's good because I really felt that this book did, and we can talk about this a little bit right now with like how Dross didn't come back. And, like, I felt like it was a good nerf to Lyndon to finally, like, take away this power that he's had for, 4 or 5 books now. Mm-hmm. That kind of made him semi-unstoppable.
If anything, even close to his own level.
Yeah. And give him that weakness, and then, give him another thing with the sect, too. Like, I feel like there's just going to be, like, these burdens that he's going to have to, like, figure out how to deal with. And I'm very excited to see how he does it. How do you guys feel about seeing the Black Flame Empire again? We haven't seen Black Flame since book 3? 4?
Yeah.
I guess 4, technically.
I did like seeing it. I was so upset that there was no repercussions at all, apparently, for... the Black Flame branch of the family not trusting Ethan. Like the one guy's I can't remember what his name is, the new patriarch of the clan.
Yeah, I think it was like mentioned like twice.
Cassius's dad. It's just like guys sitting there looking all pretty, taking all this credit. It's like, dude, you kicked Ethan out of the family, basically.
I actually with that whole scene too, with the Emperor then kicking Ethan and that whole I appreciate how funny Will White is at writing. Mm-hmm. Like, he's probably the funniest author I've ever like read or listened to. Like, that one I actually had to like shut up in my office and like, all right, don't laugh. Because I could picture it and I was like, I feel that so much.
I just
more than as well.
I wonder how many individuals in the entire way are just instantly jealous of the fact that he got to do that.
Yeah.
Like, how many Abaddon members are looking at Cradle's history like, oh, he got to kick him.
Where's that memory tablet? Immediately I was like, yep, that's great.
I was like, is this a blooper they forgot to take out?
Oh, dude, I think they do another one in the bloopers at the end, and it's so satisfying. Yeah, I agree. It was one of those moments of like, you go, man. Like, not even intimidated a little bit by literally an archlord just like hanging out.
I mean, I love Ethan as a character, but he deserves a good kick every once in a while.
Yes, I agree.
Ryan, did you listen to the bloopers on this book?
I did, yep.
Okay, I couldn't. I got to the second one. I just like, I can't.
I think
I try every single book to listen to the bloopers. I'm like,
I usually don't, but I was like, I'm gonna listen to them this time. And I think my favorite one was the one where Ethan drops the marble into Little Blue's hands, and she becomes Osriel. I was like, all right.
Like, all right, I'll give it another one. And then I can't remember what the next one was. I'm like, all right, I'm over this.
She's exactly who I'd trust with that much power after her training session with Kelsa.
Oh God! You know what? I want to talk about that training session with Kelso. I also found that very
Oh.
satisfying.
That was
Oh,
hilarious.
that was perfect because it's all these people that knew him when he was weak, and it's like, oh, this is the sage.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then like Little Blue just bouncing Kelso around the room though was like, Lennon's like, okay, don't hold back on her, and just bashes her across the room like 3 or 4 times. They're like, okay, maybe hold back a little bit.
It's a recreation of what is it, the second or third major scene in Unsold, just from the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I think he's super good at those character moments where it's like, oh, this is just a training session, but actually we need this to know how strong Little Blue actually is. And I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't even think that she was strong at all.
Well, yeah, because she's at
I-
she's at an Underlord level, isn't she?
I think
Now
so.
she is. I mean, I guess technically she was reforged in Soulfire all the way back in Black Flame,
Yeah.
but I guess this entire time I've always been thinking, oh, she's maybe up to, true gold level.
Well,
maybe.
I was
think
gonna
about
say
that.
I thought when because she forms a contract with Lyndon in book 8, I think, in Wintersteel. And I thought that was the moment she kind of took on the Underlord level.
Yeah, she definitely grew a lot at that point. I agree. I do think part of the reason why she got away with, the whole reforging with Soulfire way back when is probably because there was a little bit of, well, how exactly does Soulfire work at this point going on back then?
Well, and like, I mean, it's like Ethan gives her like a taste of it, right? She doesn't get like a ton of it, but enough
He
to
gives
like.
her a scale of it.
Oh, does he? I thought he gave her just like a little taste of it, just to like give her a little bit of a boost to help Lyndon out.
Maybe it is. I thought it was she actually like forged a scale of the stuff.
Ethan was doing all kinds of crazy stuff back then. I mean, if you really think about it, the scales he could have technically been forging could have literally been judge scales. So,
Right.
Yeah. I'd pay you, but that would destroy this world.
One
The
more
scale would be bigger than the Earth.
it'd just be like, hey,
Cradle.
here you go. I mean, this is another character I wish we would have got more of was Cassius. I really wish we would have gotten a little bit more of Cassius when we came back, because it's like he was such an important character in, I think, book like end of book 2, book 3.
Black Flame, he was definitely very important at the end of Black Flame. He didn't show up till the beginning of Black Flame.
So I would have liked to see him a bit more, because like there's definitely that moment of brotherhood between him and Ethan, but like I wanted a little bit more of that, because like
I was gonna say I would have loved to see Ethan help him get to Underlord.
yeah, that would have been satisfying as well. He would have been another one that would have been cool, but I guess since he's already got the family ties to the Aurelius family, I guess he can't, because like really what we care about now, right, is the Sect. We don't really care about anyone who's outside the Sect necessarily, unless they're like monarchs.
Right.
Well, I'm wondering if I hadn't really thought about it before, but I'm wondering if the main branch of the Aurelius family will end up a part of the Sect of Twin Stars.
That'd be kind of interesting to take them on, because they're kind of broken right now anyway. So
They're living in basements, so
Seems pretty good.
which actually I had a theory talked about, and I wanted to bring up in this discussion about Lyndon's control of the Labyrinth that I was talking to someone about in the comment section of my video. And I didn't even think about this when I finished, but with Lyndon's control of the Labyrinth and the Labyrinth being able to move, and it clearly not making sense spatially and having pathways all over the world, they could potentially be like intercontinent travelers instantly.
Yeah. I almost wonder if so we don't know anything about the gate between the core Aurelius family and the Black Flame branch.
Mm-hmm.
I have wondered for quite a while if that's actually a part of the Labyrinth.
That'd be
Because
interesting.
it's mentioned that the Aurelius family used to be, intercontinental, and we know that at the age when that became a thing, Ethan was in charge of the Labyrinth. So if that was how it became that way,
So we might get a little bit of that again too. That'd be interesting. So I really want to talk about this too. One last thing with the beginning section before we move on. How did you guys feel? So the one thing I really appreciated about the beginning section is that we get to see Lyndon from the other perspectives, right? But we get to see him like how he's seen other characters throughout the series of like, in Sacred Valley he's a little OP, but like his abilities are tamped down. But now we get to see the full force of an underlord just hanging out, and it's like it's cool, crazy to since we've seen the growth with him. It's kind of nice to see how OP he is now for like the average person, because like the average person I would say is like a gold, right? Like not many
Right.
people really make it to Lord overall in the course of like the entirety of the world.
Yeah, he does a really good job of always making sure we understand how much stronger like underlords, overlords, archlords are than just like the standard people. Because I thought we would lose that after a while once he started to get into gold and then he became an underlord. But like constantly he's just reminding us like, by the way, they can think this person dead and they'll die.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, like Yaren, at the end just fucking flicks a person, basically. She's just like, and sword draw, done, bye.
Yeah.
Wipes him
They're
from
all like,
existence.
whoa.
Whoa, don't kill him.
They're like,
Jesus.
that's not cool. That's not cool.
It's like, whoa, we don't want to draw everyone down on us right now. All right, let's jump to the Labyrinth. General thoughts of the Labyrinth. I think we've covered this a little bit, but I just want to like, I guess favorite parts. Is there like a part that you guys really enjoyed about it?
I enjoyed the Crypt Hydra bit, personally. I thought that was a fun monster to see. Fun to see the start of like, what exactly makes the Dread Gods different than the Dread Beasts. I do like, the store of knowledge that the Labyrinth represents, and the future that it could bring for them.
I liked seeing Zeal towards the end when he was about to leave the Labyrinth, and he's like, I'll handle whatever's next. And then Lyndon like starts to get a little nervous and starts like jump in, and he kind of looks back at Lyndon like, "What'd I say?" Like, "Oh, I'm gonna take care of it." That was kind of cool.
That was a really cool moment because he like just like compounds force runes onto his hammer and just mashes the person in front of him.
It's like, I can't keep up with you, but I'm not going to slow you down.
We finally got to see what he was like when he had full Archlord power,
Yeah.
Like that was who he was when he was doing that crap.
Like I said, I liked that the beginning of the Labyrinth, going into it thinking like, oh, this is like a survival thing. Like, how long can you last in there? Everyone's supplies are slowly going down. The deeper you go, you can't get into your
Keys.
spatial keys.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
only
the
open
key
them so
closets.
many times.
Right. I was loving all of that, and then the fight with Shen, I think, was for me one of the highlights. Like how it was written and showing basically how Lyndon is just trying to save like 2 or 3 other people and like cover for them while also trying to fight. Like really gave us a perspective of how much stronger Shen is.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
showing, like, they're almost useless in here without Lyndon.
Yeah. Well, and without Dross too, right? Like if he would have had Dross, that fight would have been like at least maybe a little bit more manageable because he would have been able to like slow down time and like think through plans and stuff like that ahead of time. But like Mercy almost just he had like a version of him, but
Right.
he doesn't
But
have.
He wasn't getting reports.
Yeah, he wasn't getting like well, part of that is because they're cut off from the way, right? Like that's why he
Yeah.
wasn't getting reports because the world is like under siege.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he wasn't at like full peak power, but it was like interesting to like have to like he had to basically stop Mercy from dying. Like Mercy was basically a drag on their resources in that fight.
Yeah. I mean, so was Zeal, but Zeal was holding his own a little bit better. Just
Yeah.
because I think he was Overlord.
No, he's still Underlord,
He was-
but he
he was
still
under-
was
okay.
triple baptized in Soulfire or whatever, so much
Okay.
sturdier. Oh crap. The end of that fight though with Tiberian, that was just like kind of heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, him popping the remnant out of the space.
Yeah, and then realizing that he actually it's a Monarch remnant. It's basically fully sentient. So
Yeah, that was pretty sad. It was also interesting to see. I think one thing this book did good and did especially in that Shen fight was the use of Lyndon's sage powers. Being able to see him like try to keep things open or close things back up was like a nice way to explain exactly how his powers work a little bit more and like get us of like what is his power level. Like he can't do everything. with them, but there was like it was like used in a good way that felt like there was some good satisfying moments.
I was kind of imagining Stranger Things, like what's her name? Just like he's just sitting there saying open, close, and he has like a nosebleed basically the whole time while he's just sitting there, letting Ethan like fight him at the end, like support.
He's like, I got you, bud.
Open. Ethan's like, all right, you're doing great.
Jumping ahead a little bit, I did love the pair of quotes where it's "Be gone, you be gone."
Oh yeah, when he kicks Shen out of the labyrinth.
Yeah, and Shen's just like, "Hey, no, I'm a monarch. You leave."
We talked about that. I think so. What do you guys think about Mercy's advancement in this book?
I loved that twist personally, because I always found it weird at the beginning of Bloodlines how she was just suddenly an overlord. I was like, okay, yeah, she's, daughter of the Akura clan, nearly died. She probably saw something. Makes sense, I guess. But I love this fact that like it's the first time she's ever been less talented than somebody else, and it's just her struggling to keep up.
I thought that kind of fight with her mother was just a little weird. There was like a fight, not fight, and I don't know. I saw the point behind it, but at the same time, I was like, maybe there's no risk here. I felt like.
Yeah, it was a little forced.
Yeah, maybe if there's a little bit of risk with the echoes there, like if she had to actually fight like an overlady version of her mom, that could have been really interesting. I mean, I did like getting to finally see a revelation from her. I felt like those types of things, especially now that we're in kind of the end game of the book and we kind of know our main group. Like
we got to see her Underlord revelation.
Did we get to see her Underlord revelation?
Yeah. It was I practiced the sacred arts because I want to make my mother proud.
Right.
And then this one was I'm not you.
Yeah,
right?
I'm your Malice and I'm Mercy.
Yeah, and that's how she was able to advance, which was also for me the problem at the end. It was like, all right, she advanced, cool, she can kind of keep up with us. All right, we're kicking her out, we're kicking Jill out,
that's
immediately after that.
That's why I was like, I wish that moment would have been before the Shen fight, and like the Shen fight would have just kicked everyone that left out of the labyrinth anyway, because it's like after that moment, none of the labyrinth matters. Like they just leave kind of randomly after that. Like he's like, I gotta get him out of here, just so I have Lyndon and Ethan a scene with them. It's like if those would have been flipped and we would have like got to Shen and Shen would have basically been like, okay, I got a piece before I get killed by this guy, and then I got a piece before I get killed by this guy. It would. I feel like that would have been more satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Actually making it to the end goal after that giant speech about not wanting to give anything up.
Yeah.
Why is Orthos small in this book? Was that explained? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he like transform. he can because sacred beasts can like transform their sizes or something like that, or transform themselves with soul fire. So he grew huge in the last book to fight the Dread God,
right?
And now he's like, okay, I'm gonna get real small.
I think the exact reason. I mean, personal theory here. It's not really like what is confirmed or anything, but Lyndon tells him that he's too big to fit in the tunnels. So I think he just kind of overshot on his shrinkage. Like that's my waist high. And then
ankle height.
Well, I screwed up a little bit here, but I'm not going to admit that. I'm a dragon. I don't screw up.
There's the like little blues like the same size as him basically.
Yep. They're like, put me on your shoulder, boy.
I'm trying to imagine a turtle that's 2 inches high having the same voice as the turtle that's the size of a freaking mountain. I was like, I paused the book. I was like, wait, how would this work?
I love that.
Freak out.
I love that though, because it's basically like magic. Like it's basically playing on that, like where like, in film, like characters do that when they shrink to get really high pitched voices. And it's like, my voice does not change no matter what size I am. I'm changing my body. I'm not changing my
voice
voice.
is perfect.
I also love that, like every time he's like trying to like talk to somebody, he's like looks over and like munches on like a stick or something. Just like he's constantly just like, well, what can I eat?
That was probably
so
like
funny.
I loved that moment. Like this is jumping back to Bloodline a little bit, but I loved how the one time when he doesn't just immediately eat something in his vicinity, he's looking at Lyndon's nice new cloud ship and is like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat that chair.
So I wanna take a second because I really loved the scenes too, where they were getting kicked out of the labyrinth, and like Little Blue and Orthos are out first, and they get like the Red Moon Hall sitting there, and they're just like, yep, no one else is in the labyrinth. And then Mercy comes out and she's like, oh yeah, Mercy was in it, but no one else is in the labyrinth but Mercy.
Lyndon who? Yaren. I don't know that.
I don't know those people. Yeah, and like one at a time they come out.
Why didn't he just pop out Zeal at the same spot? I thought that was kind of strange that Zeal was the only one that got popped out like miles away.
I
But
thought
the
that
other
was a little weird
5
too.
or 6 just popped out in the same spot, and it just like, again, it didn't really matter at the end anyway because they all joined up. But I was just like, huh, okay.
It seems like the only reason for it was just to
to
force...
show that it could be.
Well, I think it was just purely to force Orthos and Little Blue to be in a situation alone without Lyndon around.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was just strange that all of them came out the same exit.
Well, yeah,
except
and there was
if
like
he was going for that, it feels like at least one other person should have been popped out somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and like there was like that's like that scene doesn't really, it's not really like played for like high stakes. It's kind of funny more than anything of them just like talking back to Red Moon Hall like, you're not going to do anything to us. You know who's around us. You're not going to touch us. But like, yeah, I thought it was weird that Zeal gets popped out. Like, I think
poor guy.
Like the effect of Zeal, like to Zeal, was funny because he was like,
right. God damn it, let me carry this hammer over a fucking mountain. Join back up with him in a bit.
I'm honestly curious if Zeal's shield will ever show up again, because that was his Archlord reward from the Uncrowned, and he uses it in his last fight. And I'm genuinely curious if that will ever show up again.
I forgot about that. I haven't reread the series.
I've gone through it once up to through Bloodline. I've read everything through Bloodline twice, but I haven't read Reaper twice, and I feel like I need to give it another go around because now that we have the reveal with Ethan and stuff like that, I feel like I just need to go back and like pinpoint all the spots that those were at.
Yeah, and pick up all like the little things with Ethan and I mean, like once it was get revealed, I actually paused and I went, oh, because Ethan was like from a different country and like they didn't even know that he existed and was part of the Aurelius family and like blah blah, and like all this like small stuff started like finally building up. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, and there was and there was also this element of like he knows a lot of things that he probably shouldn't know.
Right. I kind of just chalked that up the whole series for like you just need that character to kind of advance.
Yeah, you need the character to advance.
They gave a little bit of that like lie explanation where it was, oh well, he was the genius of the main branch and he had access to all this information.
Well, I'm wondering if they thought that because he popped down the Cradle and hit himself, so he might have started over at the bottom and just like was like, okay, how high should I get? How fast should I get there?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it kind of adds another aspect to why he chose Lyndon, because he saw the marble.
Mm-hmm.
And he even makes a comment like, only someone at my level could have made that.
Yeah.
And you just kind of throw it away. You're like, oh, okay, so he's just really good.
Right.
It adds so much to that quote of, now where did a copper get something like that?
Right. Like, I wonder then if he just thought that this was also someone with the perfect veil. Like one of the judges.
Well, no,
because he thought that a judge selected Lyndon for a reason. That's why he was so intrigued.
Well, and we know that Suriel picked Lyndon, and we know that Suriel is like Osriel's only friend, basically. So it's an element of like, so she picked you. Why did she pick you? I'm gonna find out. Come with me.
I would bet anything if it was a marble from Machiel, he would have been like, okay, I'm dropping you in a hole somewhere.
Bye-bye.
Funny.
What do you guys think about Lyndon taking control of the labyrinth? We kind of talked about the implications a little bit of like him being able to portal around and stuff like that. Do you think we're gonna get anything else from that besides like just like instant teleportation across continents?
I think he's going to grow a lot as a soulsmith. This actually kind of goes back to my personal theory about Adriel.
Yeah, well, I want to get into that at the very end because I'm excited to talk about that with these guys and kind of like I was excited to talk about that with you. I was like, oh.
Honestly, I think it's whatever next plot convenience that it's going to solve.
I guess that's true.
Honestly, like it's just gonna because it's still kind of a mystery of what it is, what's in there,
Well,
all the stuff that they can find. I think it's just literally gonna be like, oh, sweet, we found this, all these treasures. We can advance to Zeal, or we can advance one of the others.
Well, that's what I'm wondering if
We
it's
can
going to be
fix
like
Dross,
it's going to be like a nice
That
little like, hey,
Ghostwater.
we've got a whole supply now for stuff for everyone in the sect.
Mhm.
So
That's
we can.
what I'm wondering. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
That's what I'm wondering is if the teleportation will be nice because then they can leave the clouds with the sect,
Mm-hmm.
and then the whole sect can have the clouds and use those for whatever they need to. But then for the main storyline to kind of speed up the storyline, I think the teleportation will be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a fact that we're going to something in the labyrinth is going to give Lyndon with the Soul Forge the ability to fix Dross, and I don't know if it's going to happen 11 or 12. I'm not sure yet, but I know it's going to happen at some point. Dross will be made back to normal because I think that it's a really good idea for him to not have brought him back perfect in this book.
Yeah.
And have him like Lyndon, like having that be a constant like sad point for Lyndon because it's like I want to fix you, but I can't.
I kind of wish that he didn't even have Dross at all throughout this book, and he was doing the entire labyrinth just because he knew he had to do it to get Dross back. Because I liked Dross in the weird spot, but I also was like, I wish we had more time
With
without
Lyndon,
Dross to
yeah.
see Lyndon without him.
Lyndon
You know,
with
to see his
just
like reaction.
Lyndon with just being Lyndon again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I like that he didn't come back right away as Dross, but yeah, I think we could have used a little bit more time too without him at all.
Yeah, I do get why it had to be before the labyrinth or not at all, though, because of like the whole plot setting where, well, how the heck is this just massive dream Madra getting through this without being, entirely destroyed? How is he just popping it out of his pocket at the end? I do wish that he could have found a way around that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree. I think it would have been nice to see him without the Dross, but I do get where it was just it doesn't make sense if I don't do it before.
I mean, it definitely doesn't, like, the way he did it doesn't cheapen the sacrifice that Dross makes in Book 9, which is good, because that's what I was afraid of happening, is that Dross just comes back and it's like, well, then his sacrifice means nothing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if the longer that Dross is with Lyndon, if he slowly starts to become kind of more similar to the old Dross, because we kind of see that in some of the fights. He starts to kind of pick up on how he should act. So I'm wondering if he ever gets fixed, or if he just starts kind of becoming more like the normal Dross, just spending that time with Lyndon again.
Yeah. I like seeing the evil Dross.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny. That one was
I
funny.
will consume everything, or whatever he said. I was like, oh shit.
Your weakness has been noted.
Yeah, that one, it was good to see. Like, I thought it was funny that they kept flipping of the personalities of like, oh, this is not right. Okay, I will flip to a new personality.
I did think it was like, I loved the kind of sort of bittersweetness of him being like, try being a helpful Dross, and it's like, oh well, that's got a sting for this confused version of Dross of like, I became helpful for you, and oh well, now I'm not helpful.
I'm not helpful at all.
So thoughts on we've talked about the Red Moon Hall thing a little bit. I want to talk about Jai Long a little bit because we haven't talked about him too much. How do you guys feel about him becoming Underlord and stuff like that, and just his part in this book?
I think how he became Underlord is proof he's not going to ascend personally.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's gonna ascend unless it's with Lyndon. like when Lyndon ascends, they can bring a group of like
Yeah,
their
they bring-
family or their close people, like unless it's like that group then. And I liked seeing I always loved seeing Jai Long's perspective on Lyndon, because
Mhm.
he's always like terrified of Lyndon, but also hates Lyndon still, or doesn't trust him.
I would say doesn't trust him over hates
Yeah,
him.
it's something more to trust him. I also loved seeing him in a situation where he had to talk to Lyndon's sister, who apparently starts to like Jai Long, and is just like, we should train. What? Like, I thought you asked me on a date. Training is romantic. What?
I love that
Yeah,
scene.
What are you talking about?
It's one of those things where it's like, but like Lyndon had that kind of same mentality a little bit. Like Lyndon and Yaren always shared that, and it's like, huh, interesting that it's not just a Lyndon thing.
Yeah, honestly, like, oh wait, you're the sage's sister though. I don't know about this.
Well, it's definitely one of those things where it's inheritance from their dad, because it's like mentioned that his dad always said, if you're not doing anything, you should be training. The only thing worth doing is training.
Yeah, and then growing up with a dad always like, you just need to ascend, or you need to advance to the next level, and everything will be better. So,
can we talk about that? Talk about that blooper where Lyndon's like, Jai Long, I heard a duel is great for advancing.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jai Long starts to sweat a little bit, and Lyndon's like, so which hand's your favorite?
Yeah,
what are you doing in about a year?
Yeah, that was so funny. That was such a good callback to the, what was it, Sky Sworn? Is that Sky Sworn?
Sky Sworn is the dual one, yeah.
I guess I have to listen to that blooper.
that one was really funny, because it was like basically every single moment of like hit all those like nice moments and stuff. And
I think my favorite blooper is in the either last book or the book before, when he becomes a sage, and he's looks at this guy and he's like, I am the sage of points. Because he's only fighting for points. That was what I was like, all right.
Oh yeah. That was in book 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was great. I love that one.
There's another points callback, Marcus. You have to listen.
All the blue. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that after this.
Okay,
we're jumping back to what was our feeling on Jai Long in this book?
Right?
Yeah.
Just kind of generally. I like seeing him. I think it's good to have that character here. It is interesting to see a character that doesn't actually know what their advancement phrase was for Underlord. And I think that's kind of why he's not going to ascend. I think he's going to have trouble getting to Overlord and Archlord for sure.
What was his Underlord?
He didn't actually recognize fully what it was, but it seemed like it was connected to like he trains because he wants to take care of his sister or something.
Yeah, it's related to his sister in some way.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I think Jai Long's not going to really advance too much further, is because his main drive was just kind of getting revenge and punishing those who did him and his sister wrong, and now he seems to be kind of over that. And now it's about protecting. So I think that's kind of why he'll step into the sect a little bit more too, just kind of protect his new family.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I actually, now that you guys are talking about it, I'm definitely like revising my thought process a little bit. Okay, let's get to the big hitter of this book. The Osriel reveal at the end.
Boring.
Yeah, worst part of the book.
Worst
right?
part, like, Jesus. So I want to go back to talk about Orthos being small.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, that was clearly the best part of the book. Did any of Max? I think no. Marcus, you said you saw that coming a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you two see it coming?
I had a hint in the back of my mind that it was, but it's one of those things where I don't want to spoil surprises for myself in a book usually, so I tend to kind of ignore that little bit of my mind that's going like, oh well, it could be this.
Man, Elizabeth wishes that I did that.
I'm in the same situation. I'm kind of more of a passive reader, so I'll listen and just take everything in. I don't try to predict everything, which is weird because I do that for movies and everything else. But with books, I just kind of listen.
You're just like, I'm
take
just
it in.
here. I'm just here for the
Yeah.
ride. I mean, listen, there's nothing. I'm talking to the audience now. There's nothing wrong with that. I think
no.
that's perfectly fine. It's just like I can't help but notice setup from like so much reading analysis, since I do that like all the time, that I'm just like, oh, okay, well, here's the hint here, and here's the hint here, and here's the I mean, to be fair, like, I really did not, this has clearly been a thing that he's held on to since the beginning of the series. This has been set up since book 2, when Ethan is introduced. And
he's had this since book 1. He said himself that he was so sad he couldn't find a way to introduce Ethan in book 1.
yeah, so like, he's had this is like one of the big plot points of his series. And the fact that I didn't realize it until this book, that's pretty hidden. That's really well done.
I have like a funny story of how I figured it out that he was Osriel. Was I got to the point where he found the perfect cloak and said that he's gonna go hide and be someone basically, and I was like, immediately I thought he was the Emperor instead of Black Flame. I don't know why, that was like just my first conclusion. But then I looked at our group chat message and I saw Max's
I remember you telling
picture
me about this.
that you sent us of Ethan, which had nothing to do with this book at all.
Yeah, no, it was for the viewers. It was a fan art of Ethan's outfit at when he loses in the Uncrowned King tournament when he throws the match.
It was just the perfect timing. If I read that chapter, realized Osriel's in hiding as someone. And then I looked at our group chat and I saw the picture of Ethan and I went like brain blast basically.
That was the funniest thing, because you were talking to me about that and you're like, it's spoiled for me. I'm like, how?
I was like being dramatic. I was like, it wasn't spoiled, but it was just more like, it was just the worst timing of when I saw it where it was in the book.
It was just one of those convenience things of like, wait a second.
It's like a detective show where they have all the answers and someone just says like one line and they go, oh, that solves the whole riddle or the whole crime, like that's basically what happened to me.
Well, and then Max he sent some message after that picture and then he unsent it right away.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's weird.
I didn't even unsend it in relation to that, actually. I just I sent a complete typo and was like, oh, this isn't what I meant to say.
But it was like that added on to it too.
It was just one of those perfect coincidences of events.
What's Max doing here? And I know he's a bigger fan of Cradle than I am. What's going on here?
That's so funny. Well,
it's definitely one of those things where I was pleasantly surprised by it, even though I knew I shouldn't have been, just because when I'm in between books and there's no new words for me to read, I will go crazy with fan theories and all sorts of crazy off the hook ideas. And then when I have a new book in front of me, I'm like, nope, gonna see what happens here. Just gonna enjoy it, sit back, listen.
I wanted to bring up too in this discussion, since we haven't had one of these drinks discussed for Cradle, so Max, you recommended this book to Michiko, right? Michiko?
Yes.
And she is the one who recommended it to me. So indirectly, Max is the one who started all of us reading Cradle because I introduced it to both Ryan and Marcus. So, which I thought was super funny.
So
thanks, Max.
Yeah, thanks, Max.
Yeah, I mean, I've just tried to get a lot of people to read this book. I'm going to be entirely honest.
It's fantastic.
I think I've said this before on my channel, but it is my number one recommendation for people wanting to start reading fantasy, because I think it's easy to get into because of the book length is so short. It's not as intimidating as something like Wheel of Time or Stormlight. But it has all those, it's so good. It's so good. It's so fast and it's so good. And I'm like, how do you do this pacing?
I think I listened to half of the first book on the way to our road trip, Gavin. We listened to it in the car. And I remember I had turned it off after 2 or maybe 3 hours. And I was just like, all right, yeah, this is a book, sure. And then I listened to the rest of it after the trip and I went, okay, yeah, I get it now, and just went boom, 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 and I stopped reading Stormlight Archive to completely finish books 1 through I think 8 or 9 at that time, and then I continued Stormlight after that. in like the course of a month, I finished these 7 or 8 books.
Yeah, I had winter break last year when I was like looking for stuff to read, and this had been on my recommendation list, my wish list for a long time. And I remember Michiko talking to me about it, and I was like, okay, let's pop this one out. And I had like nothing to do. I was just like, I think I was maybe like painting minis or something like that, or just hanging out playing the game, and I needed something to listen to. And these books were done in like less than 2 weeks. And that was like right after I started this channel, and I was like, well, got a bunch of books to review now.
Yeah.
I had a 6-hour drive down to the lake, so I knocked like 2 books out on the way there and back, so by myself driving, so it worked out pretty well.
They're a really good length for an intro to fantasy. I agree.
Yeah.
Kind of related to that, and also your statement of like how he gets the good pacing. I love how he said his writing style is generally like, I write the entire thing out and then I delete like a third of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sometimes
right.
that's sometimes what you got to do too. But maybe take that third down to like a fourth. Just give us a little bit more. I did want to talk. So like my favorite moment of the book is when Ethan is coming, like after he's revealed to be Osriel, and he's coming back down to Cradle after he's stopped why can't I think of his name, the king, the
Mad King.
the Mad King, there we go.
Daruman.
Yeah, it's just Mad King. I think.
Mad
is
King
it name?
Daruman.
Yeah,
Daruman.
Daruman is his name. Yeah, and he's got like a demon inside of him or something like that too.
Yeah,
That's got a name.
Theth
Yeah,
or
something.
something. It's a weird hard to say.
But I loved getting that perspective from Ethan, and like, because like for the longest time, like it's been like we haven't really got a whole lot of Ethan perspectives, and it's always like this like, is he like joking all the time, or like what's going on? And we get that perspective from him, and we realize like his only desire is to have friends, basically. Like that's all he's ever wanted, really. And like
happy.
And to be happy. And he's like is so afraid of being rejected by Lyndon and the rest of them, and just immediately Lyndon's like, that was badass, here.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think
that
it was-
reveal.
I
Go
think it
ahead.
was powerful because right before he transformed, Lyndon looks over to Ethan. He's actually crying because he knows like this is over now.
Mhm.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So he's actually like shedding a tear. You can just see the character come out of him there.
Just how legitimately upset he is that he has to leave these people that he has found companionship with for the first time.
Yeah.
That the world's gonna end. He's like, God, I gotta leave these people because I know I'm gonna win this fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that reveal changed my whole perspective of Ethan. Before going into this one, I was always like on a roller coaster with Ethan of being like, he's just such plot convenience, but he's a great character and I love listening to him talk. But like everything's just so convenient around him, and obviously now everything makes sense. I like Ethan so much more now because of that reveal.
Kind of had the talking head thing going on for so much of the series, and then this really adds to it.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, I think it's really well done too, because since he's getting beat here, we get to deal with the actual conclusion to the series without him. So the group has to handle situations without basically like god tier protection, because like Ethan's always been there to basically like, if not directly counteract like physically, he's been there to kind of like manipulate people around him too, to keep them away from the group. And now they're like, they've kind of got like targets pointed at them now.
Yeah. Though I do like that the targets seem to be, oh well, we need to get them out of Cradle, but we can't kill them.
Mm-hmm.
That would be bad for us.
Oh yeah, because it's like, they have one of oh no. Yeah, Shen's like, I gotta get him out of here, or I am going to die.
I want to just get a poll here. Who here thinks that the very first thing Erin does when she runs into him again is kick him for lying?
Oh yeah,
Probably.
for sure.
Yeah.
Try to stab him maybe.
Yeah, or just
Kicking
start
might
to
be
cut
too
him.
nice. I think we also learned about the origins of the Dread Gods.
Yes, we did. We didn't.
What do you guys think of that?
I had a little bit of a cheat because some of the stuff has popped up in Word of Will before. And I've also long had fan theories about like which mountain each one's connected to. I was very happy about the like twist with the mountains that was going on with like the changed power sources.
Oh, how they flip their power sources around so that they would be like weakened, right?
Yeah, none of the mountains were the right mountain because I did enjoy that particular bit because I was like, wait, why is the Silent King's mountain a big sky symbol? That seems a little obvious.
So did I read the right book here? Or...
What? I don't know what's happening. What are you talking about?
So each of the Dread Gods. You remember when we get the Rhaegon Shen perspectives in the beginning of the book, and he's moving those crystals from chamber to chamber.
Yeah,
in the labyrinth.
That.
So each of those is like a power source for one of the Dread Gods, right? Like one of the mountains above corresponds with below, but the crystals are in the wrong spots to draw the Dread Gods to the wrong power sources.
That's why they have that power. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
And then he flips them around so that they're in the right spot.
Okay. I guess I was more so asking like the Dread Gods exist because the monarchs refuse to ascend.
Yeah, that too.
When you start talking about the mountains, I was like, "What is?" I do really. Did I not ask the right question?
I do really want to talk about it because I think that's gonna, and that'll get into our predictions a little bit. So I'm gonna say my prediction first because I already told Max this, and this is what I think is gonna happen. So I think I love that the Dread Gods get revealed that the monarchs are the problem because I feel like we've been hinted at throughout the story that like. The monarchs are kind of a weird thing for Cradle, and it doesn't feel quite right how overpowered they are. And now we know why, because they're not supposed to be in Cradle anymore. They're supposed to have ascended. And I think what's going to happen is we'll get a couple of the monarchs either fights or choosing to ascend in Book 11. Shen will be the main villain of Book 11, for sure. And I talked to Max. This is my prediction. So he's either... Since he's taken some of the original Dread God powers, the number 1, Experiment 1 or whatever, I actually think that he is going, instead of the group defeating him, he's going to be turned into a Dread God and kind of like lose his mind. So they're not going to kill him, but they're going to still beat him in a way that makes him not who he is. Because I think that'd be kind of cool, like an interesting take for his like greed for power that he has been clear throughout the entirety of the book with his. And then Book 12, Malice is going to be the main villain, and she's going to be the final fight of the series.
I think I agree with you on the villains. I think I would swap them.
You think Malice will be first?
Because the last thing that Rhaegon Shen said was I need to get them to ascend. I need them to get off Cradle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to bide his time more and try to figure out a different way to either let them ascend to like Monarch to then have them ascend off the planet, or I think he's just going to be more in the shadows. For me, I think Malice had a very big character moment of where she realized how much she cares about her family and Mercy. So I think she's going to be more of the front
threat.
Right? Yeah, the big threat right away. I think she's more like she deals with problems by shooting them.
Well, that's
not planning.
The reason that I was thinking it might be Malice would be second is because I feel like she'd be kind of okay with them taking down the other monarchs because she doesn't really care. She kind of wants to rule, like all the monarchs kind of want to rule Cradle on their own.
Right. Well, it also kind of jumps back to that one quote from her where it's the family is safest when all its enemies are dead.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the reason I put Malice as a second is because I think that's the more emotional fight. Because, like, that means Mercy's going to have to betray her without knowing why, too, because Lyndon's under oath, and he cannot say anything about the real reason the Dread Gods exist.
Right.
I have a personal theory on how he's going to break that particular oath, and it goes back to fixing Dross.
Oh, you think
changing Dross.
I think fixing Dross will change his basically his soul enough to what he is enough that he might be free of the oath.
That'd be interesting. Because I definitely think the fight with Malice will come before he can reveal it to the group, and he's basically just like telling Mercy, "You have to trust me on this." and Mercy's like doesn't want to, because I feel like that'll be a really good character moment for her that I don't think he can. Like, I think you have to have that character moment there for her because that's just like so crucial to her, like her as a person.
I think Mercy is going to be able to convince Malice to just ascend instead of kill her.
I don't think she'll ever ascend. I mean, she's so anti that, like, have to be here for the family, have to kill everything.
Right, but this is then for the family. I need to ascend for Mercy,
maybe
type of thing instead. So that's just kind of like what I was thinking.
Can we say how terrifying it would be to have the sole major power for your family being charity?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Preach.
So I have a bit of a different spin on it.
Okay.
I think Shen is gonna. I don't think he's gonna be a villain at all. I think he's gonna kind of stay out of the way and hide a little bit, but I think he's gonna end up actually aiding more than hurting the team. And I feel like to break the oath, I think Lyndon's just gonna become a monarch, and then he's gonna find a way himself to get out of it.
Well, yeah. If you're a monarch, you can talk about it.
Right. So I think that has to happen because, like, I don't know. I feel like if they try to fight the monarch, any of the monarchs, without them being weakened by the labyrinth, like, that's just gonna. I don't know. I don't feel like that's gonna be a fun fight.
I feel like the team together could do it. Like,
I mean,
if all of them were at top peak power level, if all of them were ascended to heralds or to sages at Archlord, I think the 5 of them together could do it. Or sorry, Ethan's not there anymore. Technically be the 6 of them because I would be counting Lyndon, Mercy, Yaren, Zeal, Orthos, and Little Blue.
See, I don't like that though because, like, the Malice fight, like, she was just gigantic and
I don't think
all
that
armored out.
I mean, it takes even. I mean, if you look at their power, even 8 sages and 4 sages and 4 heralds working together with an armor to increase their power between each other, it's still only matching.
And they barely survived Shen, and Shen was in the labyrinth for, like, what they say, months or whatever.
Almost a year
or half a year, something like that. Yeah.
No, quite a while.
That's why I think it might not be a fight. It might be more like trying to convince them. Because
I know
they go to war, the monarchs don't even participate.
Yeah, well,
because they would destroy Cradle.
Well, I know that some of them for sure. I know that some of them for sure are going to ascend by convincing. I think Northstrider for sure is going to get out of Cradle. Yeah. And I think Northstrider will actually help them because I think he's just there to kind of keep everything in balance a little bit more than anything.
I think he's just trying to power up as quickly as he can before he ascends.
It seems like Northstrider's 2 goals with staying as a monarch were, well, 3 goals, I guess. 1 was to create his presence, which he succeeded at. 2 was to kill Sheth Kunaz. And 3 is just to get to be as high up on the chain of command as possible when he finally ascends. So
well, one thing that could be interesting that I'm going to put this out there now is because since they have the labyrinth and they probably have some of Ethan's soul smithing stuff there, we know that Ethan made penance, which killed
Sesh.
Yeah. So
dragon, right?
So I'm wondering, like, because I feel like they have to at least fight 1, maybe 2 of them, because we know that they can stay on Cradle as a monarch for a little bit after they reach monarch. So I think like the last little bit is going to be them reaching that stage before they ascend, taking whoever is left out with them, probably by force, I would imagine. But I do feel like most of the monarchs are going to just be like, hey, you need to leave, man. We need to be done with this. Like, this is not okay.
I personally am of the opinion that same as you. I think the next book is going to be the Dread Gods and Raygon Shen. I don't think. Well, I should say I think it's going to be mostly the Dread Gods, but in the end they'll be fighting a Dread Godified Raygon Shen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's going to try to take the power for himself, turn it into a weapon, do his normal thing of getting stronger. And I think it's going to backfire on him. He's going to lose his mentality, and he's going to go full raving monster.
Well, and I wonder. Go ahead.
I do think and I think that the reason that has to be first is because I see Malice helping them kill Rhaegon before Rhaegon helps them kill Malice.
Yeah.
See, the thing I have wrong with that though is no matter how strong he gets in Cradle, like he's still scared shitless of Osriel. So why would he even try to get stronger? Like Osriel can just strike him down with his pinky.
Yeah.
He knows that. He knows that they're protected.
Well, that's what his last phrase was. I need to get them off Cradle, not I need to kill them or defeat them. I just need to get them off Cradle because I already killed someone that Osriel admired, the monarch level. So I think he's just a more so like, what do they want? What do they need? Get them off Cradle. I don't want them around me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be an issue of them saying, well, what we need for us to leave is you need to leave because you're a monarch.
Right.
But it's just suicide if he tries to fight it.
Yeah.
At least in his mind. At the very least, it's just in his mind, it's suicide.
Does he know about the Eladari pack, which is the one that where they can't interfere with Cradle?
I don't think he does.
No.
I mean, I think it seems like the Monarchs know a little bit about the Eladari Pact because Northstrider does mention it, but Northstrider also seems like the most well-informed about the Eladari, or rather about their entire group, the Abaddon in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of those things where it's like, well, we know there's a little bit there, but what exactly is the limit? How much is this actually going to hold it back?
Yeah, I guess
so. I worry
because Ethan is smart enough to know how to get around stuff like that.
I also worry, well, I guess I shouldn't say worry. I wonder if Rhaegon learns more about what's going on with the Eladari Pact, and that actually kind of ties into my fan theory about Adriel. So
I was gonna say I want to save that for last because I want to talk to them about it too. So I want to go through the advancements we have left, right? So we have Lyndon needs to get Herald to become a monarch. Because once he becomes a herald, he will be a monarch because he'll have all the advancements that he can get. Mercy still needs Archlady, Herald, and Sage. Yaren still needs Archlady and Sage. Zeal needs Sage. We said Zeal's already technically ascended to Archlord, right? So I had him as Sage and Herald. Technically, those are the only two he could get left.
Yeah, and they mentioned that even if he does have to advance again, he just has to hit the power levels, basically, because he's already given his oaths.
Yeah, so and then we've also got Orthos, Little Blue. I put down Kelsa and Jylong potentially, but now that we've talked about it over the course of this review, I kind of agree with you guys now. I think they're going to be stuck behind. But my prediction is that the 6 of them are going to be the ones that leave Cradle together in the long term. But I have a feeling that one of those 6 will be stopped in some way, either by being killed or by staying behind.
I kind of thought the opposite, actually. I thought Lyndon was going to be the only one who was going to be able to ascend. And that's going to be a big decision for him at the very end because he wants to keep everyone together. And his whole reveal is we advance together.
Exactly. Well, that's my thing. That's my thinking, that he cannot ascend until they all can do it together because of that revelation. Because he forced it, which we didn't really talk about, but badass to change your own revelation midway through your revelation. You're like, nah, scratch the eye.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think he will be. I don't think he can ascend until they're all together, because I think I think Lyndon is supposed to be, and this will get into Max theory, but I think Lyndon is supposed to be a mirror / a foil for Ethan, where he's a mirror of what he's kind of following what Ethan's original path as Osriel was as he left the world. But Lyndon kind of has a hint of that didn't work out so well for Ethan because now he's kind of alone. And so I think he is going to do what Ethan couldn't do and wait and use his resources and power to make sure that the others can come with him.
Right, which could be a problem if he's a monarch on Cradle for too long.
Yes.
And I mean, the other thing is, at the very least, I mean, this actually goes back to there's a quote early in the series that I absolutely love now that we know the reveal about Ethan, and that's they ask him, "How far are you trying to go? How far are you trying to take us?" And he's like, "The very top."
Mm-hmm,
and it's well, now we know what he means by that.
Yeah.
And we know that at the very least, he's trying to like restart the Vroshir program, right? He's trying to create the next version of the Executors to create the Reaper division. So I think at least a majority of them will ascend. I'm not sure exact. Like I personally agree with Gavin for most of them, besides Jailong and Kelsa. I don't think they will, but I think the one that will get left behind might be Kelsa. Honestly,
And
I think she's the one.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think she's the one that would like put the most effort into trying it, and I also am not 100% sure. I think Little Blue and Orthos might be +1s.
Yeah.
So.
And I think if they're gonna fight a monarch, like my feeling is at least one of them has to die in the fight. And part of me thinks it's gonna be Mercy. I think Malice is gonna accidentally, like Collateral, kill Mercy.
I
and
agree with that.
That's gonna change things a lot, and that might cause her to ascend.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being Mercy being an accidental kill for Malice would be really interesting, and I think that out of all the characters, I think that she seems like the most likely to die, unfortunately.
And that also solves Lyndon's problem of not being able to tell Mercy, because Yuren's going to follow and do whatever Lyndon wants. So we want to tell Mercy if she accidentally gets killed.
And I feel like Zeal's on the boat now too. He's kind of like he's drank the Kool-Aid, as we would say.
I think he really wants to kill the Weeping Dragon.
I do too. Well, and I'm wondering if maybe like what they'll do prior to leaving Cradle, like maybe the last thing they'll do when if they all ascend a monarch together is they'll wipe out the Dread Gods right before they leave.
Well, that's the thing is I love that. I'm wondering if Emrys Silentborn might be joining their party, because if you look at it, you've got Zeal who wants to kill the Weeping Dragon. You've got Lyndon who wants to kill the Wandering Titan. You've got Yaren who wants to kill the Bleeding Phoenix, but you don't have anybody that really hates the Silent King. And then with the side stories, Emrys Silentborn is the one that has been fighting him for
the longest
centuries, apparently.
That'd be kind of interesting. It'd be also interesting to get. That's why I'm wondering about like Kelsa and Jailong, because I feel like it'd be really interesting to get like one more character to flesh out the party with Ethan leaving. But I don't feel like Kelsa or Jailong are necessarily up to the task.
Yeah. And I do love that Emrys. I love Emrys's entire backstory. I think she's a great character, and I'd love to know more about her. I also think she'd be the easiest one, well, the second easiest besides Northstrider to convince to ascend, because her entire thing is just, well, I want to make sure that everybody who's on this world can spread information and be interconnected.
Okay, let's talk about Max. Let's talk about your theory, because it goes a little bit into what I was talking about with Lyndon too.
Yeah. Okay. So bit of like word of author extra stuff. So you all know the Court of Seven, and then you have the eighth judge, who is well, the entire focus of the end of this book. But anyway, Osriel is the eighth judge. He's actually the ninth. The original Court of Seven ascended from Cradle, assumedly using the Labyrinth. They created the Labyrinth to do this. And the eighth member of the court, who disappeared before the Eladari Pact was actually sealed, was named Adriel, the Creator. There's only ever been one Adriel, the first Adriel. After he disappeared, there were no others after that. His token is, well, his weapon is the hammer. It's why soulsmiths use a hammer. He was known for, so we know that when most of the Abaddon court creates a world, they're basically just like taking pieces of worlds and kind of sticking them together and then populating them and growing it, right? But Adriel would just straight up pull a world out of nothingness. He'd straight up create them. He was, I assume, this hasn't been confirmed, but I would assume he's the creator of the world seeds. Long story short, I think between a few particular quotes, especially in this book, specifically, there's like a quote where he says his icon was resonating when he was creating because he was pulling something out of nothing. I think all hint towards him being the next Adriel.
Lyndon.
Yeah, Lyndon being the next,
because he's a void sage.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and he's
And,
also like his biggest thing is soul smithing, right? Like his biggest thing is
Right.
wanting to be a creator. And
Right.
Max and I were talking about this, and I also agree with Max on this, that it feels like Ethan is trying to build Lyndon to be the next Osriel.
Yeah, he wants him to be the next Reaper.
Yeah, but I don't think this is where I get to the foil mirroring of Ethan. Is like they're very similar, but they're also very different.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Lyndon could take Ethan's place in the long term, because I don't think like his big like he doesn't like he's definitely been born in battle because of what has happened, especially with Ethan, but like he is, from what I feel like, he's always been like the person that creates new things.
See, I think he could be both with the black flame and the pure.
That could be
kind of the same. He destroys and he
He's got
replaces.
both.
That could be
Yeah,
interesting.
I was about to say the same thing. Damn it, Ryan.
I think 3.
Sure.
Well, I should say 4 major things that I think are going to be pointing towards this. First is, like I said, his connection with the creation. Second thing, you remember how the Wandering Titan pulled up that seed of a city that was supposed to like turn into a city and then travel through the cosmos?
I actually don't remember that part.
Yeah,
Is that last book?
That's this book. At the very end, when the Titan awakens, it pulls something out of the ground and is eating it.
So we get the perspective of a Titan. It's
Right.
like I found it. It's like eating basically.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this was supposed to become a city that would travel through the stars. I think that's going to be a major location in the next book. I think it's a relic of Adriel. I think the Labyrinth in general is a ruin of is something that Adriel left behind. I think it's something he built. I think he was the primary architect at the very beginning. And then also, like I said, his connection is the hammer. And as we know from Wintersteel, sages or people that were aspiring to become sages would wear a symbol of whatever they wanted to like represent. And we know throughout this entire book, the number one thing that Lyndon always wanted was the hammer badge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but Zeal carries a hammer though.
It's true.
Maybe he's the creator.
I think he's going to join the Warden or the Titans.
The Titan Legion of the Abaddon.
Yeah, of the Abaddon, the barrier people.
Which we were talking about this too, and I think I also kind of agree with Max on this one. I think that the group here is going to be the next part of the next court of judges. Like if they're going to unseat the judges. But I don't think, which is something Will has said outside, that I think this series ends with Cradle, and that he's going to do another series that deals with everything outside of this world.
He hasn't announced anything for like crossover series or anything, connection to his other series or anything. But I would agree. I think he might do another series where it's the Abaddon bit, and he can get a bit more into the connection between things.
Yeah, and maybe he'll do a few more series before he does that and flesh out the cats that's gonna be there. Yeah. Because we already know Fury's there, and we know Ethan will be there. So I feel like
his other 2 series also take place in Sector 11.
Okay.
It's so the 2 of the other iterations that are mentioned in this book are Asylum and Amalgam. Asylum is the location of the Elder Empire series. And that's like the one where she said it was like the prison iteration with all the stuff on the outside, and there's no way Darman would break into that one because he doesn't want the competition of other fiends. And then Amalgam was the one where she said it was like, oh, it's a planet with a bunch of other little bits connected to it. And I don't know much about Amalgam because I've never read Traveler's Gate, but I have read Elder Empire, so I know a little bit more about Asylum.
Like I need to read these books.
Yeah.
Speaking of Fury, he had a really cool little quote in Bloodline when he's going up to Abaddon. He says, "Another monarch staying in Cradle creates all sorts of problems." So you can tell he's like, man, it's bad news if I stay. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty badass now knowing why.
I kind of forgot he said that.
I totally forgot about that, yeah.
Fury is probably one of my favorite characters. I know he wasn't in this book at all, and we only got him for like 2 books.
I was gonna ask favorite characters. So Marcus Fury is your favorite character?
He's definitely up. I mean, I think Lyndon for sure just has to be because he's the main character. I mean, we just get so much of him. But past him, I think Fury and I like Zeal a lot too. Yeah, I think I'd have to go with those probably 2 for my next favorites.
Ryan, Zeal, number 1.
Yeah, Zeal, and then probably Urine. The way she just steps ahead of Shen, and like she's gonna take like the blunt of his first attack. And that's just pretty badass.
I mean, you're hurting me here, making me choose. I love Lyndon. Discounting Lyndon, either Yaren or Mercy, probably.
Really?
I love both those characters so much.
Really interesting.
I also really like Orthos.
I mean,
I think
Orthos
he's
is
great.
funny. Orthos is great.
I think if Cassius had stuck around, he might have ended up being my favorite.
Yeah, I kind of wish he would have been able to stick with the group a little bit longer because he was a character I was definitely interested in seeing more of. Well, I'm going to say it. Ethan's been my favorite character throughout the entirety of the series, and this just made it 10 times better.
Ethan has moments that make him such a standout character, and I love him, but like for sheer consistency, Yaren and Mercy, they're great.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Mercy and Yaren as well. I both like them. Ethan, I don't know. This book, he definitely, like I said, went way up. But before, I was just like, yep, this is the character that he uses to show us stuff, basically, that we don't understand.
The reason I liked him so much even prior to this reveal and stuff was because there's the cocky attitude, but there's clearly like a compassion underneath the cockiness, right? Like there's clearly like, I care about these people a lot. And I think that's why I really enjoyed him, is because I like that, him playing with those a lot. And like this book, when like that final scene, I was like, solidified. This is it. This is my guy that I'm probably not gonna get to see almost any of for the next 2 books.
We'll get some.
We'll get like a little bit, because I think
get 4 chapters next book of him.
I think one thing I'm really looking forward to is Will has said that the thing he thinks most makes a good last book is an extended epilogue, where you can kind of tie up those small loose ends that don't really fit into the main story.
So like a Lord of the Rings style type epilogue.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
So I'm hoping for that.
I feel like there's a lot of loose ends to tie up, so I would be excited to see that.
I think he knows what he's doing, though.
Yeah.
I hope. Does he need 3 books more instead?
Yeah,
I think his exact quote was, "I have no idea how long the last book will be, but I know it will be the last book."
Yeah.
They've
been getting progressively longer.
Yeah, they have been getting a little bit longer. Well, and I think that one thing that I've thought about is like, I don't care, like, so like 9 came out in February of this year, and we just got 10 within 10 months, basically.
He wrote 9 while he was supposed to be on vacation.
Yeah, so I really, like, I love how fast these come out, but like for these last 2, I want him to take as long as he needs to take to get these to the quality that he's happy with. Like if I have to wait like a year or 2 to get 11 and a year or 2 to get 12, like I'll be sad that I don't get to read him till that point, but I really want them to be the best he can produce.
Yeah,
sure. And it's going to be at least a year. He said he's going to take a short little break on these ones.
That's
so
good.
He's going to take his time on this one.
Good.
Honestly, I think part of the reason why this one came out so fast was he broke his foot.
Okay.
And I can't remember the exact timing of that, but I think that probably helped him.
Yeah, probably.
Bit of the book and get it put together and sent
But
out.
like this one, like I feel like a lot of people really like this book, which I want to get into favorite books next. But like, I feel like this book felt, especially with that second half of Labyrinth, felt a little rushed. And it was a little bit like you could have taken like one more round of revision on this and like given us some other things instead of that. And I think that would have been good. So that's why I'm kind of like, take your time. Please take your time. I'm excited to see the end of the series, and I want to see what happens after, because I'm super interested in what's going to happen with the Abaddon now. But please.
Take your time.
You've done a lot of work. You've released 10 books in like 5 years. So you know what? Slow down. It's okay. All right. Favorite book for this series, for Cradle. What's your favorite book out of Cradle?
They blend so well together in my head that I can't remember when one starts, one ends.
Can I grab my top 3?
Do it. I gotta look some stuff up.
All right. So Number one, hands down, Winter Steel. I love that book. It was my favorite of the series. I have listened to it I don't know how many times at this point.
Gratitude. I am the end.
Yeah.
Best
And
fucking
it's
quote
not-
throughout the entire series.
I don't even know if that's my favorite quote from that one. I think my favorite
I
might
love
be
that
"Poor
quote.
Little Dragon." When Yaren ascends to Herald,
Mhm.
and he's just like, "Oh, poor baby Sesh. He can't do anything. You're going to win." I like watching him rage. But I loved so much about that book. It revealed things that I had been theorizing about from the beginning of the series. It gave Lyndon his first like very personal seeming increase. Well, not first, second actually. Very personal increase in strength. It really set apart his advancement from everybody else's. I loved the entire points bit when he goes crazy for it. I loved seeing him interact with new characters. I loved seeing Yaren having to be the one that all the pressure was on. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I did think that was. So I'm going to say this now. Winter Steel was my favorite book of the series so far. It's the one thing that I'd been reviewing because it came out when I was listening to the book series, like right when I was listening to it for the first time. And I had reviewed up to book 7. And I had problems with book 6 and 7 because of those character moments that I had talked about earlier in this, where like he cut off the scene with Mercy and Lyndon in the theater. That I was like, this is really good. Oh, we only get half of this. You should have kept going with this. And it addresses those issues that I had, which is you need to give us character moments now. Like we need to slow down just a little bit so that we can get these like moments with them.
Yaren's date with Lyndon. I loved that scene.
That was a really good scene too.
I loved that scene. Number 2 on my list. I'm going to disagree with you on book 6. I loved Underlord.
I don't. No. Okay, I still like Underlord a lot. It's just that those were the big problem I had from 6 and 7 especially.
Yeah, I did love it though. I thought it was a great like real threat at the end of the book for why they need to push so hard here. I loved seeing more of the wider world. I loved the increasing stakes. I also just really liked the fact that they had to get very personal for their advancement. It made advancement feel a lot more special.
Yeah, a lot less just like you need power.
Yeah, and I know that's something Will White has said is like it's his biggest regret with his power system is the gold levels because there's no real defining change between them. And then my last favorite, and I'm gonna kick myself here because we're gonna go back to that favorite character bit. I loved Ghostwater because it introduced Dross, and I can't believe I forgot about Dross, probably because we were talking about this book so much and he's not really in it. Dross is my favorite character. I don't know how I just entirely blanked on that. I love his sassiness. I love his intro line where he's trying to figure out what a spoon is. I loved everything about that character from the get-go.
Yeah, that's a good list. I'm kind of struggling over here.
Ryan, do you have a favorite book?
Yeah, so I'll jump in. I'm not going to say a favorite book. I'm going to say a favorite section just because
Okay.
they do kind of blend together. Just the Uncrowned Tournament was great. I love that part. I love seeing the actual fighting, everyone at similar levels. And then afterwards, there's a lot of character development during that. And then the point system for Lyndon was just hilarious. To watch him just kind of grind, just go psycho.
We're losing points!
Get out there!
Love that.
I think, okay, I do want to talk about that arc with the tournament arc. Can I just say, what a great tournament arc. Those are really difficult to pull off because they're very tropey, and he did a really good job not falling into those pitfalls of it being like, I don't care about this fight. Like, there was every fight I felt like had some sort of meaning, and the fights that didn't, he basically just summarized and got past.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just hey, maybe Safari will fall. Oh, no.
Yeah. It wasn't like maybe she's going to fail here and let's spend 10 minutes on this scene. And then it was like, oh, wow, she passed. Like we all knew. And it's like, no, just we already know what's going to happen. Skip those parts.
Yeah. Her fight with the silent servant where it's just like, oh, well, if anybody's going to beat her before one of us, it's going to be her. Oh, no, she just flooded the entire side of the field with fire. Okay, it's done.
And Ethan just sacrificed, just quitting and just forfeiting it pretty much. Like, yeah, that sounds like Ethan.
In the most asshole way possible.
It did make it for sure known to everyone that he was paid off.
Yeah,
for the fight.
that
I
was
loved that part.
That was
my favorite,
so
yeah.
funny. Of like, okay, you paid me off, but I'm gonna let everyone know you paid me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not
And
satisfying.
I loved the fact that it had connections to Fury afterwards. I loved that affected.
Oh
his
yeah,
relationship with
yeah, because Fury was pissed
Yeah.
that he threw the fight. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that. Fury was like, you
The only person Fury doesn't like.
Because he's like, why won't you fight? It's
Yeah.
so fun to fight and you're not fighting. I'm gonna agree with Ryan, like that the entire Uncrowned tournament is fantastic. I just couldn't remember which book it was mostly in. If it
6,
was in
7, and
Uncrowned.
8.
Okay, I knew it was like in most of the books. I just
3
couldn't remember
books.
which one I liked the most. I think
It's only 7 and 8.
No, it's in 6 too.
I mean, 6 is when they're setting up for it. And
The
I guess it is.
preparation.
Oh
tournament
right,
community,
right, yeah,
Jason, because
they're
it's
prepping
choosing
for
the
it.
people.
Yep. So it's it technically bleeds into 6 a little bit, but
Yeah.
the main
and
tournament.
actually
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna throw in Black Flame as well,
Oh,
book
yeah.
3.
Black Flame's good.
Just because one of the early books, I thought that one really jump started the series for me as well. Just really starting to love the characters more and like understanding what's happening. And I think he became gold somewhere in there.
Yeah, low gold,
Um,
I think, in that book.
Was it gold? Yeah, it was gold.
Yeah,
because
low
he
gold in
became-
that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he became Jade for some reason, but no, he gets there.
Yeah. And then I think I would even throw in book 9, Bloodline in my top, just because of seeing him have to deal with his family.
Yep.
Even though it's so frustrating to watch him, it just makes sense as well. And it's pretty much just a huge character moment for
Yeah.
Lyndon.
Well, it's like
For
I've
half
done
the
all
book.
I've done all this for you, and like it's like whenever like it's like when you go home from to your parents for like the first time after you like leave and move out, and you start like you kind of fall back into some of those habits, and then you're like, wait a minute, this isn't
Realize,
who
like,
I
how different.
yeah, this isn't who I am anymore. I'm different now. I
In fact,
actually
he was crying after his first conversation with them because they still
Yeah.
saw who
Yeah.
he was.
Oh, will they make us strong like they made you strong? Like
Yeah.
that type of, I'm just like, oh my god, these
Mhm.
freaking bastards.
well
Then I was like, all right, Ryan, let's kill them.
I-
just kill them off.
I really thought that see, this is weird because I feel like a lot of people did not like Bloodline, and I really enjoyed Bloodline a lot. I thought it was a really good book, but I know that the overarching opinion of it is lower.
I enjoyed it. I still think I would put it lower on my list. It's definitely on the bottom half because I know my fourth favorite is Black Flame for many of the reasons you said. I think it's a good book. I would put it personally lower on my list.
That's the thing is I feel like most of the books in the series are like really good books. The only book that I think is like I would say bad but not really bad, like average, is I think book 4. I did not like book 4 very much.
Oh, Skysworn?
Skysworn, and it's just because like
Yeah.
there's not really a lot of memorable moments in that book. It's just kind of like they're
Most
there.
of the important stuff ended after they got into the Skysworn.
Yeah.
Like there was the fight with Jai Long, the introduction of Mercy, and then after that it's kind of it's important for setting up later, but it's not.
Well, yeah, and we don't even really get that much with Mercy in that book. She's just kind of there, and like the concluding fight is with like Malice is the important one, which we don't really know a lot about yet. So
It kind of just summarizes it.
It put a picture of what the pinnacle of strength on Cradle was, I guess.
Right.
there's
was
good elements to it.
Good.
Like in retrospect with the entirety of the series, it's fine, right? It's
Mhm.
okay. But overall, like with like the everything else, I just felt like that was the book that I was just like, okay.
Yeah, for sure. This book actually is rated the highest out of all the
Really?
books so far.
I could see that.
At 4.79. I think just because of the ending. I think
Yeah.
Just the
nailing
hype.
The ending
nailing
is,
that ending just like oversees the Labyrinth, I feel like.
Mhm.
Yeah, the ending was
a lot of
like
slow stuff.
I think the ending was like a huge spot for a lot of people, but
And it was the fact that he showed the broader implications, I think, that partially made it so good and so overshadowing.
Yeah.
You got to see the stuff with Mercy and Malice, the stuff with North Strider, the stuff with Raygun, and it just kind of really added to the scene, I think.
What I like too is it really made the Abidan actually important. You know, like in some of the earlier books, you're listening to those sections and you're just like, oh, can we just skip this? Like
what's happening?
Especially your
like,
first,
going on?
especially your first listen through. It's like I don't care, but like I feel like you start to pick up more and more as you start to kind of realize about it. But yeah, this book kind of like solidifies them finally.
And we finally got to see, what the actual like full court was. I was very happy to see the full court.
And then Winter Steel is the second highest at 4.73.
Doesn't surprise. I was gonna ask you. I wanted to ask you guys where this book falls for you on your personal lists.
Top
Definitely
3 or top 4 for me, probably.
Okay.
Top 5 for sure.
5 or 6, because I've already said what my top 4 is, and I'd put this one there, but it's kind of a toss up between that one, or this one, Uncrowned, and crap, why can't I remember the name? This one and Uncrowned. I'm just gonna go with that because I can't remember the name of the other one I was thinking of.
Ghostwater, Bloodline.
No. Oh, Bloodline. Yeah. It was basically this one, Bloodline, and Uncrowned.
See, it's
the ones I'd put tied for 5th.
I think this is a good problem to have with the series, where it's like I feel like every book is good. Again, except for like book 4, I have some more severe issues with. Like book 4 is definitely my least favorite book. Still doesn't mean it's bad. It's still good. It's just not. I don't like a lot of the stuff that happens in it, other than like the beginning section. But like, honestly, like for me, like I personally think I like Bloodline a little bit better than this book. Like the reveal of Ethan, fantastic part of this book, I think is huge and really cool. But like,
fight with Raygun.
That was pretty good. Like there was some good moments in it, but like I think I enjoyed like the overall story of like I liked everything about 9 a lot. So I don't know. I probably would actually put this kind of lower on my list, to be honest. Not saying that's bad. I still really enjoyed myself while reading it, but it's just like I liked a lot of the other books a lot. So.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to go off the reviews because the people who are most passionate about the books read it the earliest.
True.
So the reviews are usually inflated a little bit.
Towards the end, it's like, oh well, no matter what, I'm finishing this series, and it's all great. I love everything about this, so it's just better.
So the fact that like Winter Steel, it's been up for a year now, so you've got more of those lower reviews to really balance it out, which I think really proves to the fact that Winter Steel was just such a good book in the series.
Yeah, I think Winter Steel is a solid book. Okay, I got 2 things from here right now from Max and from Ryan. Max, what do you want to talk about? Favorite quote?
Oh, that kind, not so much favorite quote as just like the thing that Ethan said that becomes super meaningful and just really impactful after getting the reveal. And I already said mine, where it was like the whole, I want to take you all to the very top. And it's like, well, at the time I thought he meant maybe Monarch, and it's like, well, I don't think that's where Lyndon wants to end, but now
that
it's
was
like
such a good moment too. And he was talking to the Monarch, and he's like, "No, I hunger more. You're just satisfied with this world. I want all."
Oh yeah, that was.
I was like, "Oh, okay, fucking psycho."
I liked after the big reveal, Ethan comes back to Lyndon and says like, it's kind of like a reverse catfish. He's like, just everything we went through is real. Like, my name's real, my feelings are real. It's like, it's kind of a reverse catfish because, he's better than you thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
But so I thought it was interesting. He comes back. He's like, I promise my feelings for you are real.
I love you. I swear.
Yeah, that is a good moment. I think I said mine too, which is just like that moment that like he's afraid of rejection from Lyndon. And then Lyndon's like, nah, man, that's badass that you are a judge. Like, basically, Lyndon's had 2 judges kind of looking after him.
Yeah.
And choosing him.
Yeah.
as for like favorite quotes, actually, a lot of them don't come to mind. Other than like I remember reading a review of the first book like not that long ago, and I was like, oh, I forgot how good the quotes in the first book are. Which my favorite ones are: "When a traveler cannot find a path, sometimes he makes his own," or "The disciple follows the master, but the genius blazes their own trail." Like that's just from book 1, and that's like what obviously Lyndon's been doing since. So for me, those are the ones that actually I think those are from Whisper.
Yeah. I also really liked Suriel's. I always loved Suriel's last word of advice, or it was any sage will tell you that all paths can be whittled down to one thing: improve yourself.
Yeah, there are so many good quotes.
I mean, it's still, for me, it's Lyndon's Sage Revelation. That quote gave me chills the first time around, and I was just like,
Sage of Points?
The Sage of Points one. The blooper one is the one that got me the most. Yeah. So emotional.
I figured.
Ryan, did you have something you wanted to bring up too?
Yeah, so I was browsing the Iteration 100 subreddit, and the show Arcane got brought up. So for those who don't know, Arcane's kind of like a League of Legends animated show. And Will was actually in the subreddit, and Arcane got brought up in the subreddit, and he said that he loved the show and that he thought it would be the perfect people to do a show for Cradle. And he said if he had more money, he would love to hire these people to do a show based off of Cradle. So I thought that'd be really interesting.
I always thought this would be a good like animated series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Watch. I don't know if I'd want to watch it like live action unless it was like done super well, but I think animation it would be perfect.
You could do some beautiful things with the animation, especially with the remnants. They're always described as paintings on the world. It's like that would be beautiful to see in an animation.
Yeah, I that's awesome. I would love to see that. I really like this. Have you guys watched Arcane?
The first 3. I haven't seen the next 3.
Yeah, I've seen like the first 4 or 5 now.
Yeah, me and
but the animation's awesome.
Yeah, I love the style. It's interesting, and I really like that. It's like it's a little different, and I kind of like that.
I was so terrified of how the story would go after League's last event, which was like the Ruination or whatever. And that was just an absolute bomb, absolutely terrible. But the show, it's beautiful to look at. It's got great writing. They have great voice actors. I was very impressed.
Yeah. I wish we could talk about that more, but we're also not doing.
Completely throw that one out the side window before we go down a giant side quest.
I just thought it was cool that Will said like he loved those people and he would love to hire them.
I mean
trying to make connections.
I was gonna say that could be a hint for the future.
That'd be so crazy. What character would you want the voice actors reading the book to you to do? Like if they did a show like this and they like actually hired him to do a character.
The main the
guy
narrator.
The narrator.
Oh.
What character would I want him to do?
Yeah. I'm between Orthos and Zeal. Because I just feel like he just nails Zeal every time.
Oh no, that's so hard.
I have to go Yaren very specifically because the the narrator has said that the voice he did for Yaren, he will never recreate for another character, and that he loves doing Yaren.
Okay, but oh man, I don't know. I just love Orthos as well. I love those.
Oh yeah.
Like as soon as he starts doing those voices, I'm like, I know exactly who's fucking talking right now.
What about Ethan?
I wanted Ethan. I love his
voice is pretty good.
Yeah.
The first time he ever talked as Orthos, completely rewrote my headcanon of what Orthos sounded like.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's Orthos. Nothing else can compete.
God, that's so hard. Yeah, all of them. You know what? Just hire him. He
can do all. I think it would go insane to just be talking to himself in a booth. Not reading, just be like reading both lines. That'd be so funny.
Any last questions anyone has? Anyone wants to talk about things that we skipped over?
I mean, how much time you got? But I think we made a lot of progress here. We did a good job.
We're sitting about the 2-hour mark right now, so we've made some good recording. So no, everyone's good.
I think so.
All right. Well, we covered a lot. So, and this is like a 13-hour book. So, all right. Well, I think that'll be it for us. Maybe potentially, guys, we can do a revisited of the earlier books for these drinks and discusses, and we can maybe work on those at some point in the near future. But I would definitely want you guys to come back for book 11 when it comes out, and we can all do that. So.
I won't read it as fast as Max, but I will read it.
I think he finished it twice before I finished it once.
Definitely me.
I've only read this. I got this series right before the Uncrowned release, and every book since then I've finished before an entire day has passed.
If I hadn't had to teach that day, I would have stayed up till midnight and gotten the book as soon as it came out on Audible and listened to it as soon as it came out. But I
made a mistake and annoyed the crap out of Michiko.
Yeah, I'm not that young anymore where I can pull all-nighters like that. So.
No, the thing I did was if you switch your Kindle to Australia, you'll get it at Australia midnight.
Oh.
So I did that. And then it desynced our family account between me and Michiko. Took all my books away from her. And so she's yelling at me, Max, fix it. You can wait another 4 hours for your book.
You're like, shut up. No, I can't. I need my fix of Cradle. Sticking the needle in.
All right, guys. That's going to be it for us. We'll see you next time when book 11 comes out.
Yep.